Hello there, Trevor here from Double Bill Movies. Okay, so as it's Halloween season, I decided to do 31 days of Halloween. Actually, I'm doing 32 days of Halloween because I started on September 30th. So yeah, I thought I'd do something a little bit different than the last 2 years I've done. This year I am watching films that I've never seen before. That's actually quite a lot of horror films, bizarrely. So what did I start with? Well, we all know, I think, by now who Art the Clown is, and the two Terrifier films, a couple of films that I went to see the other day at cinema back to back. That was a great experience. I won't be watching the third installment until December because it's a Christmas movie. Can't be done with watching films out of season. I get why they're releasing it this month in October, but yeah. Anyway, there is another film that has Art the Clown in it, and it's kind of not an origin film, but the first film to feature Art the Clown, and that is All Hallows Eve. Now, I know various other Blu-rays of this have now come out, but this was the first sort of original Blu-ray. Bit of a sort of an anthology film within one film. There we go. This is actually a BDR. It's not fake, it's a genuine release, but yeah, like I said, there's other versions of this now. So yeah, it starts off, there's a babysitter looking after two kids, and they've got their trick-or-treat bag because obviously it's Halloween. They have lots of sweets and everything to give out, I guess, when trick-or-treats come around. And suddenly the kid reaches into his bag and pulls out a VHS tape. And he sort of insists that he's going to have to watch it. And the babysitter's like, no, you can't watch that. They end up watching it, basically, and there's all sorts of gruesome, horrible things on there. And Art the Clown makes an appearance and does some pretty cool, awesome, gruesome things. Not played by the actor that's in the Terrifier films. And actually, when you watch the end credits to this film, the guy, I forget his name, but this guy appears about 10 times as different roles. So that's great low budget filmmaking, that everyone just all hands on deck, does a bit of everything, a bit of acting, different characters, a bit of crew, camera work and all that kind of stuff. And I really like that about horror films. So that was the first film I watched. Then the next film I watched, I decided to watch one of the Paul Naschy films from Paul Naschy 2, or the collection part 2, should I say. Now, obviously, you should know that one of these is a video nasty, but I haven't watched that one yet. I decided to watch A Dragonfly for Every Corpse, which is this film here. And it was okay, not too bad. It's, you know, Paul Naschy plays a detective in it. And there's obviously a killer going around, and each time they leave a corpse, they leave a dragonfly on the body. And you know, it's kind of a murder mystery, as all these sort of things are, but it was okay. Not the most exciting, exhilarating film I've ever seen, but definitely not the worst film I've ever seen. So there we go, A Dragonfly for Every Corpse. But obviously I will be getting around to the video nasty, which is Werewolf and the Yeti, but at a later date. Because it was a short film, I decided to watch 2 that night. Also because every sort of Tuesday I go to a film club, so I didn't have time to watch a film that night. And seeing as I would now work a 4-day week, I managed to get my day off moved to Wednesdays, so that after my night out I don't have to go to work next day. So I decided to watch 2 films on the Wednesday, especially as my wife goes out that evening as well, so I get the place to myself. and just sit and watch films. It's great. I watched A Blade in the Dark. Now, this, I think I didn't bother getting it for the Italian Collection Blu-ray, but once I heard it came out in 4K, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. It's not actually a bad film. It's about a film score composer who's in a house by himself trying to write this score for a horror film that's being worked on, and all sorts of horrible things start to go on around him. And he gets a bit creeped out in the house and this, that and the other, and some people keep turning up dead. But it actually opened with a scene that has the blonde lad from The House by the Cemetery, and I was like, oh no, here we go, not another film with him in it. But it turns out those scenes with him with him in are literally just a film within a film. That's the film that they're working on. So we don't really get to hear him speak, and you know, good little actor. I'm not complaining about him. It's just the voice they had for him in that film was horrendous, and it was really annoying. So yes, there's the poster art. But yeah, that was not too bad. Now for a bit of black and white classic. Most of you may know this from the 1991 remake starring Robert De Niro. But I went to my mate's house on Thursday night. My mate usually comes here to watch films, but now he's got his projector, and so we've started sort of alternating. And he's not really into horror films, so I managed to pick one that I knew he'd be alright to watch, because he does like aliens and that sort of thing, but he doesn't like slasher films. So I had to pick something that I knew wouldn't bother him, because I'm kind of like that. But what we watched was Cape Fear. This is the original Cape Fear. This is from Fabulous Films. And stars Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck. Now, I've seen Robert Mitchum in many sort of World War II films and stuff like that, and you know, you're used to seeing him in his sort of suave way, but to see him play the bad guy in this film is really quite something. It was a really, really impressive performance, and it's nice to see actors do something against their sort of stereotype, I suppose. So yes, if you haven't seen this version of Cape Fear, I really, really suggest you get a copy or find a copy and watch it. It's a really impressive film. Both my mate and I said afterwards that it was quite intense, and you know, it did make us feel a bit uncomfortable, I have to say. If you put yourself in the cinema seats back in I think it's 1962. Now they've obviously chosen to do it in black and white because there was plenty of colour films around it, or that was about the time films were starting to be colour for more mainstream. But yeah, it's actually quite a disturbing film if you put yourself in a cinema seat back then. But yeah, definitely recommend it. Now I've got a box set of 4 Amityville horror films. They're all sort of TV movie type films, and the third one out of the set is called Amityville New Generation. I have to say, I was actually quite impressed. What was it about? Oh yeah, I just kind of gone blank a minute. But and there's no sort of images to remind me, because they're both on one disc. So the other film is that one, but I know there's a guy who keeps having dreams about what's going on in the old Amityville house, and oh, there we go. They're a group of artists, and they're living in a sort of warehouse type building, and their tendency is coming to sort of its end, and they want to put on an art display, either paintings or just other kinds of art. And one of them is great. It's actually the gentleman who played the original Shaft. His art piece is basically a one sort of seat chair, a lazy boy type thing, I suppose. He's got a TV in front of him. There's sort of chicken wire type thing over the TV, and he's got a shotgun mounted on top of the TV facing him on the chair. And there's a camera, so he's on the TV because the camera's feeding the image to the TV of him. And there's a timer running, and you never know when the gun's going to go off. And there's a brilliant scene where the people come into the art exhibition walking around, and they see him sat there, and he suddenly gets up and says, "Oh, someone mind sitting there while I go to the can?" And they all sort of like, "No, I'm not sitting there." Anyway, there's more to it than that, but yes, I'm glad I remembered. So I won't spoil it too much, because actually I was really quite impressed with this one. So far, out of the 3 I've watched of the 4 films, this is the best one. Not as good as the original by any means, but this is not a bad film. So if you're into the Amityville horror films and you don't have this box set, I suggest you get it. Okay, so I do have some DVDs to watch. I have a box set. I'll show it to you. If you've heard of After Dark Horror Fest, then I managed to get this DVD set, 8 Films to Die For, and I'm probably going to watch most of these during this Halloween, and this was the first one I watched. Now, Borderland. Now, I was watching it and thinking, I'm not sure this is quite horror, but there is a cult in the film, a Mexican cult, and because they're in a border town of Mexico, and they decide that human sacrifice is their way. If they can get good screams from the person being sacrificed, it will make them invisible. Yeah, it's a bit weird, and I felt that was a little bit weak aspect of the story. But the 3 people, the 3 lads that basically go down to this border town, one of them disappears. Wonder why he disappears. But there are some pretty gruesome scenes. Now, the thought of it would be lovely to visit South American countries and everything, but the sort of the fear of being taken, kidnapped, and all sorts of things doing to you, some of which happen in this film, and that was sort of the scary part of it, the more human aspect of it, rather than the sort of the sacrifice bit. Sean Astin's in this film, and he plays a pretty good role, and rather different from Lord of the Rings or the Goonies. But yes, Sean Astin's in this. He's not the main character. There's 3 other actors that are the main guys. But for the most part, I thought it was a good film. I did sort of enjoy it. I will actually seek out a Blu-ray. There is a Blu-ray version of this, so I will seek out a version and hopefully watch it again. Then, the film I've literally just finished watching. Now, I showed this in my recent haul video, actually, and the quality of the Blu-ray is not very good. I think it's a bit of a DVD rip. I don't mean it's like unofficial, because it's a glass master disc, and I can't believe any pressing plant is gonna, they're gonna check out what it is they're pressing to make sure it's legal first before they go ahead and do it. But I just think that the master this German studio has been given to create this Blu-ray has just not been very good. But the film was pretty good, I have to say. I looked at the budget on IMDb, and it's estimated about $500,000. And the special effects in Bombshell Bloodbath, I have to say, were pretty damn impressive. Some really, really good special effects, some good makeup. You know, some of the acting's a bit suspect, but hey, low budget horror films, it's not meant to be, you know, top-notch acting, is it? It's people starting out. There's actually quite a big cast in it for such a small budget film. And yeah, there's, you know, in the credits you got all the main cast, and then you got the zombies, and I'm pretty sure they were all different. So not like All Hallows Eve, where everyone was playing everyone and doing about 10 different roles. I was really impressed with the sound design. I'm quite into sound, so I know quite a lot about sound design for films, and I was really impressed with it in this film. The locations they picked were really good, and I thought from what I could see through the poor quality of the disc, that actually the final picture that they got with whatever cameras they used was really nice. Now what I did have to do was actually turn the brightness down on my projector to just make it look a bit darker, a bit more contrasty, and sort of cover up some of there's quite a lot of macro blocking going on, and there's a bits of jittery picture, but hey, in some ways it adds to the fact it's a low budget sort of indie horror film, so don't be put off by that. There aren't many of these Blu-rays around. I think there are some UK DVDs which have the name Return of the Living Dead 6, something like that. So if you want to find a copy for yourself, there is potentially going to be an American release, and if there is, I will probably purchase that because it's an American film. This might be a German copy, and if I take the inlay out, you can see the lovely FSK there, but yes, this is a reversible, so there is German 5.1, which is very, very poor quality, because the original audio is not 5.1, it is actually 2.0. And it's not just because there's only 2.0 available on here. The original audio is nice and a really, really good stereo image. I flicked on the 5.1 just to hear how it sounded, and it sounded awful. So basically they've just encoded the 2.0 into 5.1 and hope that it sounds good. And obviously I imagine they've done a German dub. So anyway, yes, so there's no subtitles on this disc, so you can watch the original English and it'd be fine. So that's week one essentially of my 31 days of Halloween. I shall hopefully next weekend get another video out for the following Monday, and if you're following me on this little journey, then yeah, you'll be able to find out what I watch next week, won't you? Anyway, so if you haven't subscribed already and you'd like to follow me on this year's 2024 31 days of Halloween, then please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up. I know I'm not the only person doing 31 days of Halloween, so please feel free leaving a comment down as to whether you're doing it and what films you've been watching so far. Great to hear from you. Anyway, till next week's video, take it easy.